For dinner tonight, we are gonna make these sliders that I've had my eye on. They look so good. The first thing we're gonna do is make up the, first thing we're gonna do is get this thing open, however we do that. The first thing we're gonna do is make up the, like it's kind of like a slaw, I guess, that goes on the top. I'm gonna have to wash this. I'm gonna attempt to chop this in a shredded fashion. We'll see how that goes. A shredded lettuce would make this super fast and easy. I'm gonna go ahead and put it in this container that has a lid. You could just put it in any type of bowl, but I figured this would make it easy just to have this in the fridge. Now I'm gonna add some banana peppers to mine. These are hot, but don't feel like it has to be hot. You could, I mean, you don't have to use banana peppers, but we're gonna chop them up a bit. And I don't know that I'm gonna do very many just because since they're hot, I don't know how much my son is gonna love those. Now you don't have to chop them. I'm just making sure everything is kind of relatively the same size-ish. I'm adding pickles, and obviously you could just get pickle relish from the grocery store, but we already had these, and so I figured I'll just go ahead and chop them myself and save a couple bucks because we didn't need the relish. Now basically at this point, you're adding somewhat of like a submarine dressing, okay? So I'm gonna add a good amount, like a really good amount of Italian seasoning. That's at least 2 teaspoons. And then some oil, add in some oil. So if you got a submarine seasoning from the grocery store, these are the kind of flavors that would be in there. Okay, just mix all of that together. I might put a little bit of vinegar in that as well. This can go into the refrigerator while you work on everything else. Okay, I'm just lining a baking sheet with parchment paper, and actually I need a dry, I have to dirty another cutting board because I need a dry one for these Hawaiian rolls. So we're gonna take them out of the package. Got my bread knife, and we're gonna cut all the way through. I'm sure you've seen this done before. Okay, lift off the top, and then on the bottom here, we're gonna put some mayo. Okay, just spread that all around. I said the word mayonnaise, and I realized that I meant to add a little bit of mayonnaise to the lettuce mixture. So just like a tablespoon-ish is probably fine with the amount that I did. Now this can go back in the fridge and it will be ready when we're done with all the other steps. I've got my parchment lined baking sheet here. I'm gonna take the bottom layer of the sweet rolls, and these are gonna bake at 400, 7 to 10 minutes until they get a nice golden brown color. Now, while those are in the oven, we're gonna prep the filling that's gonna go in there. I'm using, I think this is turkey. I'm using turkey because I'm not a huge fan of ham, okay? So typically, yes, you would go for ham with this recipe, but we're just going to throw down some turkey here. I don't know exactly how much. Several slices is probably what I'm using. I'm gonna save enough for one sandwich tomorrow for lunch. I only got a ½ pound and I've already made at least 2 sandwiches out of this, so. This is less than a ¼ pound probably. Let's add some pepperoni. Let's do, I don't know, that's probably like 12 to 15 slices of pepperoni. And then we're gonna use this salami. This came in my Good Chop box, which is part of the reason that I got inspired to do this recipe, because when I saw salami, I was like, oh yeah, we gotta come up with something really good for this. Okay, so we'll just open this package, and I'm gonna use 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, let's do 7. I like salami a lot. Okay, now we're gonna chop all of this up. So I'm actually just gonna lay it out and just start to chop it like so. It doesn't have to be like the perfect chop, it's a rough chop. Take all that meat that we chopped up and just cook it in a pan for just a couple of minutes, just to get it heated through. I have nothing in the pan, by the way. You don't really need it just because, especially if you use ham, you don't need it. But the pepperoni and the salami are a more fatty meat, so it should be fine just the way that it is, just to heat it up. All right, while that meat is cooking, I'm gonna make up a little butter mixture. First, let's melt the butter. For the melted butter, I'm adding a touch of oregano, probably a half teaspoon. I'm adding a little bit of onion powder, that's like a 1/4 teaspoon, and the same with garlic powder, about a 1/4 teaspoon. So that can just set to the side. We're gonna use that in a second. That bottom layer is nice and toasted. I'm gonna add provolone, layer it across here. Sliders to me are just such a fun, like, spring, summer meal. The meat is all heated through, so we're gonna just add it to the sliders. Kind of spread it around, making sure we get a little bit on each one. Make sure it goes all the way to the edge, but not over. You don't want to lose it. Now we add our top rolls on. This is where that butter mixture comes into play. Going to brush the tops with this butter mixture. And I just used about a tablespoon of butter. I think you guys saw that, but just so that you have the measurement there. And of course, I'll have this recipe linked in the description box. These will go back in for about 5 minutes. All right, we're gonna take the tops off again for just a minute. If I can do this whole, we'll see. Nice. Now we add the topping. The lid goes back on. And now we've got delicious sliders. All right, let's give one of these a try. That is so good. All of those flavors are delicious. I highly suggest making this one. That little coleslaw salad type thing that goes on the top, that takes it over the top. So good. You have the mixture of those meats, then you have the saltiness from the pickles and the banana peppers that are in there, the crispiness of the bread. I mean, all the flavors and textures, they work together so well. If you're only thinking of sliders as an appetizer or a dinner menu item, you're missing out. We're gonna make some breakfast sliders. Not only are these delicious, you can freeze them, you can reheat them in the air fryer, the oven, the microwave for several days so that you have them on hand. It's a great make ahead breakfast. I already have bacon and sausage cooked because you guys know that's something that we do on a regular basis. We have that in the refrigerator so that it's ready to go throughout the week. Now, my sausage is crumbled. If you want to make an even layer that will come out the same size as your, what are they called? Sliders, take a pound of sausage in a 9x13 pan and press it out. It's gonna shrink up a little bit while it cooks, but then you'll get one flat, even layer of cooked sausage that you can put onto your sliders. You just put that in the oven for, I don't know, it's like 20 minutes or something. I'll leave the directions in the description box if you want to do it that way. Like I said, we've already got crumbled breakfast sausage ready to go, so obviously we're going to use what we already have. But we need 8 eggs, so I'm going to crack them here into my measuring cup, and we're just going to use this as a mixing bowl. Also, my eggs are really large this time, so thank you to my egg supplier. Okay, that's 6. Now, obviously with the bacon and sausage, there's gonna be a lot of flavor in these sliders, but if you wanna take your eggs over the top anyway, like I do, add a glug or 2 of Worcestershire. Also, if you're not adding cottage cheese into your eggs, you're missing out because it adds this wonderful texture and obviously some extra protein as well. We're just gonna finish this one off. Now, if you really wanna take your eggs over the top, add Parmesan cheese. It's so good. I mean, so good. So this is not gonna mix in very well. You'll see it'll mix in once we put it in the pan and fry it up. But y'all, Parmesan cheese in your eggs is so delicious. Okay, these are gonna be the best flavored eggs of life. You can add salt and pepper, but honestly, with that boars and cheese in there and the Worcestershire, we never feel like it really needs it. All right, so take your sliders, your Hawaiian rolls, whatever it is that you're using, and you're gonna take a knife and cut all the way through, leaving the tops intact, like together in one big piece. And I'm prepping everything now, but I'm actually not gonna bake mine until tomorrow morning. So I'm gonna go ahead and just prep it so that it's ready for the morning, and we'll be ready to just pop this in the oven for 10 to 15 minutes right before breakfast. Okay, before I even head over and make my eggs, I'm gonna lay down some cheese. So you can use whatever kind of cheese you want. This is a Kerrygold cheddar, and this is just, we buy it in like a 5-pound block and shred it. So we always have this available. Okay, now, like I said, yours might be in just one sheet basically, where you can lift it up and lay it on here just as if it looked like this and you're laying it on top, which is actually pretty cool the way that you can do that. But if you have crumbled sausage like me, you can do it that way as well. And I would say add as much or as little as you like. Or if you don't like sausage, if you only prefer bacon, then do that. Once you put these in the oven and all that cheese melts, obviously you're still gonna have some stuff fall off the sides, but it won't be quite as much. That cheese is just gonna help to kind of bind everything together. You do wanna always, with sliders, take everything all the way to the edge as far as you can, making sure that you have goodness in every last bite. Okay, we're gonna head over to the stove and cook up the eggs. Then we'll put the bacon on top. It's gonna be so good. I already have a hot pan with about a teaspoon or so of oil in there. I'm gonna cook up those eggs. We're just scrambling them. One tip I have is to undercook your eggs a little bit, because remember, these are going into the oven, so they're still gonna cook more. Okay, let's top the sausage with the eggs. And if your sausage is in one layer, it's gonna be a lot easier to do this. Come on, this smells so good with this boars and cheese in here, y'all. Oh my goodness. I'm gonna take some green onion and add some to the top. For color, for taste, for all of the above. Now, bacon. And I'm topping with a little more cheese. This is really mostly for binding everything, because we've got some cheese in the eggs. We don't need to worry about it adding more of a cheesy layer necessarily. It's more that holding everything together. I mean, y'all, this looks amazing. Now in the morning, right before we cook this, we're gonna add a maple butter to the top, which is essentially just maple syrup mixed with butter. But then we pop this in the oven for about 10 to 15 minutes, and it is just so good. I mean, look at these. These little breakfast sliders are so good. It's the perfect balance of sweet and savory, because you have the egg, the sausage, and the bacon, and then the roll is a little bit sweet, plus you have that maple syrup on the top. I really, really like these. Everybody in my family really liked them. So easy to make and have prepped in the refrigerator so that you can cook them the next night. Very, very good. We all really, really like these. I think some jalapeno added into this would be delicious. Maybe even a little bit of salsa, as long as it's not too wet. All right, cat wants to go out. Shocking, I know. But very, very good. We really all like these. Now I need to go get ready for the day. Friends, you know 90% of what we make here is made from scratch, but there are these shortcut methods that sometimes are just so worth it and so good. And let me tell you what happened. About a year ago, we were walking through Sam's Club and we were looking for a really good option for our kids to be able to make their own lunches. So that's come down from school, pop something into the air fryer, toaster, oven, whatever it is, a good quality protein. And we found these right here. These chicken strips right here by Just Bare, they are so delicious. Now, there's some ingredients that I still don't love in here, but for the most part, the ingredients are fabulous. There's no hormones, steroids, artificial ingredients, no preservatives, no antibiotics. You guys know I love a good quality thing like this. We always have it available. It got me thinking, I know a lot of people have things like this in their house, whether it's chicken nuggets, chicken strips, things like that you can really quickly heat up in the oven or the air fryer and make a quick lunch or even dinner option. I'm gonna show you some amazing, amazing recipes that you can make with breaded chicken just like this. They are delicious and you'll never believe that they were frozen chicken tenders. For dinner tonight, we're doing another recipe with our favorite chicken tenders. We are making chicken Parmesan sliders. Super, super easy to make and very good. Now, I do wanna preface this by saying I did go ahead and halfway pre-cook our chicken. So in the air fryer, you're supposed to cook these for around 13 to 14 minutes. I just did about 7 minutes just to get them started because I don't want my Hawaiian rolls to go into the oven for a full 14 minutes. It will just make them overdone and burnt on the top. So we wanted to pre-cook that a little bit so they're over there in the tray. I also am gonna make up my own sauce. Now you guys just buy whatever marinara or spaghetti sauce that you love. I always make up our own, so this is standard for me, okay? So I'm just taking some plain regular tomato sauce. And if you've been here for a while, you've seen me do this many times. I like to put in some Worcestershire, and normally, this is about a teaspoon. Normally I will add minced garlic. We are not doing that tonight because I'm not going to cook this at all before we pour it over the slider buns. And so typically when I am going to typically I'll put in minced garlic if I know it's gonna get a nice cook on it over on the stovetop, but we're gonna skip that. So instead, we're gonna use our onion and garlic powder. Okay, just about a teaspoon, maybe even a little less of onion powder, same with garlic powder. Just adding in some flavor there. We are adding some oregano, and I like to do at least a teaspoon of this. We really like oregano. You can add parsley, thyme. I'm just gonna use Italian seasoning because it has a lot of those in there. Same thing, about a teaspoon. And then we'll add a pinch of salt. Some people do add sugar to theirs. We are not gonna add any sugar, but you can if you want a little bit of sweetness to cut that acidity. All right, just mix all of this together. We won't even use all of this, so I'll reserve it and then we can make like a quick pasta or something for lunch tomorrow. So that is it on that. Set that to the side and move to our sliders. Now for us, we actually had a pretty decent sized lunch today. We went out, so I'm only gonna make half of these, and that probably seems crazy because they're so small, but I just know what we'll eat tonight and what I have planned for the rest of the week. So I'm gonna make 6 of these little sliders. I'm cutting them in half down the middle, and I actually have another recipe that we may use the rest of these for. If not, they'll get used for turkey and cheese sandwiches, which is a pretty common thing here around here. All right, so let me just put this away before we move on. We're just gonna take the chicken and lay it out all across. I wanna make sure I get it nice and full here, going all the way to the edge. Okay, so we have 2 left over. We'll save those. Now I'm gonna top this with some of the sauce that we made. You can use as much or as little as you want. Just if you like yours really saucy, then add some more. Okay, you guys know normally I shred our cheese, but we are going out of town, and so I am trying to make things as easy as possible. So top this with some mozzarella. You want a decent amount of cheese here. I also already had some Parmesan in the fridge, so we're just gonna go ahead and use it up. Don't need it to just stay in there. add another one too. Now, I am going to add a little bit more Italian seasoning. Okay. Put the lid on, or the top, put that back on, just like so. We're gonna make up a really quick garlic butter to put over the top. I am gonna use a touch of minced garlic here. So let's do about a half teaspoon or so. This is a tablespoon of butter, just add a tablespoon. It's salted butter, so I don't need to add any of that. Add some oregano, or actually I left out, yeah, oregano. And we're just going to mix this together. I'm just gonna do it with the silicone pastry brush that I'm using. Then just brush the tops of the sliders. My oven is preheated to 350 degrees. These are really just gonna go in for about, it could be anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes. I'm thinking in between 5 and 7 though, since I did pre-cook the chicken a little bit. I will check them at 5, see how it is. I don't wanna burn these at all. And you, depending on your oven, you might even wanna put it down to 300 if you think that that's what these can handle. Just watch them so they don't get burnt. Okay, the 5-minute timer just went off. They're still looking really good and they're not getting burnt at all. So I'm gonna go another, maybe let's do 3 minutes. All right guys, these look really delicious. I'm gonna start serving them on plates. We already have the salads over at the table. And then I'll give one a taste so you guys can see. Okay, if you're a chicken Parmesan fan, you're gonna be a fan of this. That's really good. Highly suggest that you go ahead and pre-cook the chicken, maybe even longer than I did, just to make sure it really gets that nice crust and crunch on it. The air fryer really helps that to happen. It'll retain some of that crunch once you pour the sauce over. This is very good, tons of flavor. And like you would not believe, if you were serving them to your family or guests or whatever it may be, that these were made from frozen chicken tenders. Very good. Our verse today comes from John 16:33. In the world you will have tribulation, but take heart, I have overcome the world. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you're new here, I would love if you would subscribe and stick around. Hit that red subscribe button. Also, you can hit the notification bell and you'll be notified whenever I upload a new video. But don't leave YouTube just yet. Check out the video that I have listed right here on the screen. You're gonna love this one. Have a great week.